and gas exploration and production activities have been going on in the Niger Delta since 1956. Similarly, all efforts by successive governments to stop gas flaring since 1958 because of the hazardous effects it has on the environment have not yielded any positive results. When persuasive efforts could not stop the companies from gas flaring, government enacted the Associated Gas Reinjection Act of 1979. Implementing the Act on airing oil companies has also had its challenges, particularly in the area of compensation to the host communities. However, things have now changed with the concerted approach of the Buhari administration. A firm step was taken by the President in 2019 with the approval and the release of 98 billion naira gas flare funds to host communities in the Niger Delta, thereby aligning himself with the aspirations of the people in the region. Today, we have the leadership of the host communities in Nigeria, HOSTCOM, as our guest to help shed light on the plans in place for the even and equitable distribution of the funds and other sundry issues. Hello and welcome to Break It Down, where we make matters of policy, societal issues, governance and development easily understood by all. Today we are examining the approval of 98 billion naira gas flaring penalty funds to host communities in the Niger Delta region. And with me today in the studio is High Chief Dr. Benjamin Style Tamaranebi. He is the National Chairman, Host Communities. You're welcome, sir.
It's a pleasure.
So we're talking about the Associated Gas Reinjection Act and the 98 billion naira, which has just been approved by the President. But let's look at this act, which was passed in 1979. It could not be fully implemented until the Buhari administration came into power. What exactly is this act about?
Truly, this act was to put in place to check the gas flare. The wastage of gas could be converted to something usable, valuable for the country, valuable for the region. It's not wasted in the air. This are the act was being passed in 1975, and since then the government is collecting the royalty fund from oil companies, multinationals. Then the money has been paid to federal government, and being the fund for royalty means that the communities where this gas has been fled, the fund have to circle back to the community for development to impact their sufferings, and that was the reason this act was being passed, but they have not been put in place up to today.
Since 1979?
Correct.
Up to today, but it was approved? Okay.
By
so
then President.
From 79 to 2009, you didn't even know that it was available?
There was the fund, we never knew that the fund was made available for host communities.
Okay.
Till 2009, when we became aware of it, that we applied. Then from 1986 to 2009, quite a number of years, and every 1,000 cubic of feet, could be 1 barrel of oil contain 1,000 cubic of feet of gas that has been fled. So in the calculations, where we were trying to do a calculation analysis, from 1986 to 2009, we have already, the federal government have collected 1.23 trillion naira.
Oh.
But unknown to us, we now applied that most communities were given 98 billion naira.
Oh. But the money is there with the federal government?
The money is in the, with the central bank,
okay,
which the government is aware, where we have a big series of meetings with the government. Then we have interministerial committee was set up by then President Jonathan. the same government can be able to generate the money for the host community.
Do you think the money has been used?
I would just say the money has been used with shared among every state, including Abuja.
Oh, okay.
That we don't ask if the money has been used, if by prevention we have applied wrongly for 98 billion instead of 1.23 trillion. So our cry at this moment, it has been approved by previous government, but when Buhari administration came, it looked into it, and 2017 it was approved to release for the development of host community.
Yeah.
And behold, we have been on it till today, but gladly, Mr. President have acted to the cry of the host communities. Even the first day of this year, in his own New Year address to the Nigerians, he make it clear that host community is in his integral parts of this administration.
Okay, so the 1 point something trillion or whatever.
Yes, 1.23 trillion.
Still in the wallet.
And it covers of the central bank.
Of the central bank.
Yeah.
Okay, and you are not pressing for that.
We have been on it. I knew I became a national vice chairman in 2010, and 2018 I was elected as the national chairman. And since then we have been pushing. Before my predecessors, we have been pushing.
Yeah.
So up to now we are pushing. And the government have agreed with us at terms to release the fund. We are waiting for a release clause for host community. They were looking for a well-articulated group to release this money to, where the host community has the structure. We have the structure, we have the manpower, we have the capacity to manage the fund, not the governors. The government of the 9 oil producers have failed. In respect to 30% derivation, it has not trickled down to the communities that are suffering from exploration activities.
So what are the governors doing with the money?
It is their own pocket money. They term it as their own pocket money.
Oh.
If that is what we ask the question.
And the communities do not hold them to account?
Not really. It's a political stuff. This, like we are an organized group, being in every state that produce oil. We are doing everything. Like for example, my state, Bayelsa State, where I come from, where even the worst community that produce oil and gas have no benefit on it. That is as bad as that. Talk less of river states, Akwa Ibom states. All these states are critical states where the commission ought to be identified by host communities.
The history of the Niger Delta begs a lot of questions because of, you have just said, the 13% derivation that the governors collect, and at the end of the day, like you said, it does not trickle to anybody.
Never.
Yet the governors are elected by the people. Who asks questions? Who brings them to account? Who asks them to account for these things and tell them next time we are not voting you in? Because sometimes some of these governors, they even have 8 years.
Truly, like my governor, former governor, let me say, the former governor Dixon Serake, who stayed for 8 years, cannot account for the number of money that have accrued from 13%. It cannot account for it. How many host communities have benefited? These are the questions we may ask. So it is clear indication the governors are not interested, one, to identify themselves with the host communities that are organized in order to utilize the funds. So we are asking for the 13%. Part of it, we are not asking for all. 50% of 30% should be given to communities that are suffering. Why don't we only cry for the federal government?
In addition to the 98 billion.
Yeah, 98 billion is just a token.
Separate.
It's a token.
Okay.
It's a token.
You'll be glad to have it.
Oh yes, of course.
Okay, let's take a break now. When we come back, we'll continue with this. Yeah, we'll be back. It's still on Break It Down. You're still on Break It Down. We still have the chairman host community, Chief Benjamin Style Tamaranebi, and we're discussing the approval of the 98 billion naira gas flaring funds to host communities. And you were just talking about 13% derivation funds. You're taking us way out of it. Like I said, how are you going to force them to do it? And if you're asking the federal government to give you part of the 13%, that would be another issue altogether. Because some people came together and decided that 13% is what they're going to give to like producing states.
It is sad when we cry out as a group at the government of our local states, let me put it that way, could not acknowledge or hearken to the cry of the immediate community that's suffering. And they demand the 13% from the federal government to give it to them. The question that we may ask, you are not impacted, you are not make good use of the 13%. The communities are very suffering from this gas flare, oil exploration and exploitation. And you are asking for more. Now we are saying, and we will take other drastic steps in order to stop this menace. They are defrauding the communities. Just imagine if we went to the community hinterlands, those creeks where this oil is coming out, where the collect have been collecting, you will weep. There's no good water to drink. There's no electricity. And then somebody is at Ames Affair. At every given month, billions of naira have been collecting, flowing into their accounts. What are they using it for? That was the reason we organized ourselves as host communities umbrella, at the mouthpiece, coming to president as a pressure group, pressurizing the state and federal government. Give us the mandate so that we can use the money by ourselves to develop our communities. Like for example, the Shell Petroleum, Shell SPDC, the way and the manner they are doing their things in this GMO use of stuff. At least the communities get the contracts, and contracts are being implemented. The projects are being seen, being supervised by the local communities. Not somewhere they give contract to somebody we don't know. At the end of the day, they say the money has been paid, and the work is not done.
Are you talking directly to these oil companies? Why not? Why not go to them directly?
We have applied. They have been in the common marriage with the government. They will say the governor has said this, the governor has said, their governor has said that. They will feel us, they take us as inferiority.
So how do you think what you are doing now, which is peaceful advocacy, how do you think it will work better?
Let me not go too much far from the topic we have today, which is the gas flare.
The gas flare, yeah.
This is the database we have here. This one is the database of all the communities that are suffering from oil and gas. So these communities here would benefit, even though the money will not be enough. Though we have some certain problems that have been solved. At Hyons and everything now is paid for. So the president is willing to release the money. And we know this year Mr. President will release the money.
Okay, so let's talk about the funds, specifically what they are meant for.
As I said earlier, the funds are purely meant for developing our area.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, are there any other groups pressing for this same fund?
You know, there are a lot of groups there, but we are identified group with the federal government. Well, you know, we have been on the ground, not today, since from 2002. Yeah. We started from coastal communities. I should be put on the test.
You're still on Break It Down, and we're still with the National Chairman Host Communities in the Niger Delta, HOSTCOM, High Chief Benjamin Style Tamaranebi. We're talking about distribution. As I was going to ask you, distribution of these funds. How do you ensure?
Like what I have here, we started from Abia. The CO2 emission is 349.1 thousand tons. So we have the calculation. Then when you come to Akwa Ibom, the same thing, the calculation is there. Bayelsa, we have it there. Yeah. Cross River down to Rivers State, and Ondo. Alphabetically, we have worked out the summary. The statistics there to prove. Then if you go back to local government, and local government will break it to clusters. So it cannot be the same thing as the sharing formula would be. What if you produce more carbon and more gas have been fled in the states, you have more money by that calculation. So we impact more. If less is being fled in the states, you have lesser. So that is going to be fair and equitable distribution of these funds to communities. Like for example, you want to get a building, a school building for a particular state or particular region or cluster. But the fund that may be zeroed down to you cannot be able to do that. Then you wait for it until you get the amount of money. Then you put up that project. You will not look at Akwa Ibom that has more money, or Bayelsa has more money, or Delta has more money, that you won't have the same percentage. It can't be so. Because what I'm saying, we have even the small hamlets, the fishing camp, there is 10-man ESCO. 10-man ESCO of HOSTCOM is there. And there are watchdogs in each part. They will report on what is happening in their own communities. So there's going to be fairness in the sharing.
When do you think the fund will be released?
We definitely will not disappoint, Mr. President.
Gas flaring has been going on in the Niger Delta since 1958, and this is a resource that can act as another major revenue earner for Nigeria. Until the Buhari administration, it doesn't look like, or perhaps no other government has done something about it. But now that they are doing it, now that the government has started something, do you think it's achievable?
Yeah, it is achievable, as I said earlier, on stopping or flaring gas in the region. Rather, to invest as they have started. That's what I would say.
We talk about fairness and equity all the time in the Nigerian polity, and I think this is a time for them to do that. The people of the Niger Delta, if you go there yourself, I have been there, and I mean, it's not a story we want to tell
exactly
all the time.
Exactly.
We feel so sorry, and it's to avoid further conflicts. Please, federal government should do the right thing. Okay, if I may ask this one last question, because this is breaking down, and it comes to my mind every now and then, why the gas flaring in the first place? If this is something that can earn you another revenue, earn you some money, why are you flaring? Why are you wasting it and endangering people's lives?
I can say that maybe the government is not aware of the economic importance of gas. Then asking the companies to pay fine, token. If they knew it before this time, the Nigeria of today would have not been where we are. Let me assure you that Nigeria has the potential. The biggest gas reserve in the whole world. Over 600 trillion of gas deposits in this our country. So if we invest on it, it's not oil.
Why are the companies themselves flaring?
Well, maybe perhaps what we understand is that to reinvest on gas is more expensive than paying the penalty. So they decided to pay the penalty and waste the gas. But these administrators come on board and say, stop, reinvest. And they are now working on it. Like what is happening at the AKK pipeline that coming from Benin down to Kano. It's a development. But we're asking, do more in areas where this gas is being flared. Let the gas master plan be implemented. That's what I'm calling on this government to do.
Okay, we don't have too much time because there's still so many questions, and I'm sure my viewers will want to know. Okay, if this gas is money and to pay fine is easier, I mean, there's a conflict somewhere. There's a conflict somewhere.
It's a policy. It is government policy. Yeah. So if you don't want to reinvest, you pay the penalty.
Even if it's more expensive to reinvest, then what are we saying is going to be another revenue earner?
Yeah.
For government.
The government, and that's what the policy.
I want to understand that.
The policy is all out with the bureaucracy. The government have to look into it. Today, border administration have looked at enter into MOU with various companies and various countries where it can sell this gas to. And today it's working. And I've seen the importance of it and diving into it. Nobody will not look at it and want to waste it away. So the government are looking at this carefully. The Nigerian future is not on oil, but on gas. So let us invest. And I believe within a short time, gas, no one will ask to flare gas away. Rather, invest for more money.
Because the oil drops and drops and drops and goes on.
We're not bouncing out of oil.
Fluctuates.
The future is on gas.
Okay, thank you so much. It has been nice having you on the show, sir. Very, very exciting, and I've also learned a lot. I like learning on this show because I want people to learn. I want us to teach. I don't teach. I want you to teach them. Thank you very much for being on the show. Thanks for being with us. See you next week. This is Break It Down.